Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all colleagues joining us in this GSS annual webinar on the HR non-staff services. As you heard from Zamir, I'm Andrew Saberton, the Deputy Executive Director of UNFPA, but most importantly today, the co-chair of the UNSDG Business Innovation Group, BIG. It is a pleasure to open today's global webinar on this GSS, which is one of the most widely used shared services amongst our priority global shared services portfolio. Some of you will have joined my co-chair, Sonia Layton-Cohn, 2 weeks ago for the UN Fleet session. Together, we co-lead BIG's work to deliver on the UN SDG's efficiency roadmap, ensuring that our operations enable stronger, faster, and more coherent program delivery across the UN system. BIG's mandate is to operationalize the UN SDG efficiency roadmap, which seeks to link our efficiency work streams on global shared services, common back offices, common premises, and the business operations strategy, so that we can better deliver and better support program delivery, humanitarian response, and SDG achievement. All 4 efficiency streams rest on the imperative of operationalizing the efficiency enabler of mutual recognition, the commitment to recognizing and using each other's policies and norms in order to cooperate effectively. We've just come from an important BIG and HLCM meeting in Vienna, approximately 4 weeks ago. And it was actually the 4th big meeting of this year where we confirmed that efficiency reforms are no longer resting on an abstract pedestal. They are our everyday operational realities, and we all have accountability for a unified response to efficiency through the UN80 framework. A key message from Vienna was that efficiency is no longer just about cutting costs, but also about improving service quality, resilience, and sustainability. UN80 reframes efficiency as an enabler of humanitarian compact and sustainable development. Global shared services is a priority for the BIG. Its impact is evident and realized in all entities using the services and avoiding duplication. The new GSS dashboard and the forthcoming GSS foresight analysis demonstrate that if more entities adopt the endorsed GSS services at even a moderate rate, we can unlock hundreds of millions of dollars in additional efficiency over the next 2 years. That's not abstract saving, that's funding redirected to country teams and the people we serve. UNOPS HR non-staff services help agencies engage talent faster, smarter, and in full compliance with the UN system recruitment rules and regulations. This is one of the 16 services that BIG has endorsed to streamline business operations at the global level. It complements UNDP's GSS on non-staff contracting, which I know was a previously successful webinar that was recently held. This initiative is a powerful example of how shared services can translate the principle of mutual recognition into practice, allowing one's entity administrative backbone to support another's without duplication. And especially for agencies operating in humanitarian or complex settings, consolidated HR services enable speed and reliability while ensuring fairness and transparency in how we bring UN staff on board. And as we think of efficiency, let's not lose sight of what it enables: more inclusive hiring, faster deployment of surge capacity, and greater diversity across our workforce, contributing to the 2030 Agenda's goals on gender equality, youth employment, inclusion, and decent work. In conclusion, the question that I would like to ask you all is which agencies are thinking about signing up and what's holding them back. BIG is ready to support you in exploring the model, and the service providers can work with you to customize the arrangements to make sure it meets your operational requirements. My thanks to our colleagues from the UNOPS for their leadership in driving this work forward, and to DCO for their reliable support and coordination. As we continue to build coherence through our efficiency roadmap, let's remember that efficiencies are not the end. They're a means to create the space to accelerate on the SDGs and to reshape our operations for the programmatic impact to leave no one behind. With that, let's turn to the presentation and discussion. And I look forward to hearing how this service continues to evolve and support our shared mission. Back to you, Zamir. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew, for setting the stage and for that comprehensive overview of the efficiency agenda and the global shared services. Colleagues, we would like to open the floor now for a quick chat or discussion from the field with the big co-chair, Mr. Andrew Saberton. And we welcome you to either share your questions in the chat or raise your hand, and we will take the question and give you the microphone to ask directly. But as you prepare for that, Andrew, maybe I can pose one common question that most of the colleagues have in mind. Many of our colleagues are joining from country offices and regional offices, headquarters right now in this call. And most of them are working directly on a day-to-day basis in HR, in admin processes, and finance. And they would like to know more. I mean, in your opinion, based on your own word, could you share how these efficiency initiatives are expected to make a tangible difference for the staff on the ground in terms of like faster onboarding, processing of payments, or bringing overall efficiencies? We would like to hear a few words from you on this one.
Yeah, I think, Zamir, with regards to that, we don't need to narrow it down to HR services. We're really talking about all the services that are provided from global shared service centres, and eventually will be provided from common back offices as well. The idea of consolidation must bring savings. I mean, those of you who know me know that my background is actually an accountant, and no one will ever argue that by consolidating, both in the field level and also at the global level, savings will result. It makes perfect sense to. And I mean, if you think going back to the evolution of the big, I mean, the first thing is to take out of country offices everything that can be done outside of the country offices, to not burden our staff with administrative and operational services, and allow them the freedom and the time and the capacity and the opening to actually contribute on their programmatic and development and the working for the beneficiary and having that taken out. So the first thing we always try and do is to take services where possible out of the country into a global shared service centre, and that will ultimately also be a precursor for more efficient and a higher speed in country back offices, because we'll take non-required, those services not required to be done in country out of the country. That's the ultimate aim, leaving a smaller range of services for consolidation globally. And I can tell you this from practical experience as a previous controller of UNFPA. In my 15 years in UNFPA, we've never done our own payroll. We've never done our own entitlement services. We've always outsourced, and I know we've saved money each year in outsourcing it.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. I can see a hand raised. We have Mr. Isakzai, who is the resident coordinator of the UN system in Iraq with us. Mr. Isakzai, the floor is yours. I have activated your mic. Please come in.
Good morning, New Yorker. Thank you for this opportunity. Good to see you, Andrew, and thanks, Zamir. Today is a big day in Iraq. Actually, it's the parliamentary election, so in a few hours we would know who would be the next prime minister if all goes well. I just wanted to actually raise and ask how BIG can help us. We have a real situation in Iraq with the transition of the mission. We have the political mission, UNAMI, which will end its mandate at the end of December after almost 22 years of presence. And that is really creating a whole issue of sustainability of our operation, which very much dependent on the mission. And at the heart of this is, of course, the common premises. Again, we will maintain 2 common premises, one in Baghdad, one in Erbil, in the Kurdistan area, Kurdish area. And I'm afraid that after 20 years of painful work to keep the agencies together, and we already bring them on the common premises, it's now at the risk of being dismantled. And the reason and the factor for that, or contributing to those, is that one, agencies do not have the money to really now pay for the whole infrastructure that was put in place by UNAMI and to pay for it, and security cost. And then, of course, in Erbil specifically, we have a situation where we cannot compete any longer with commercial market, where agencies finds it cheaper to be outside common premises than inside. Now, I don't know how that happened, but that's a bit of an anomaly, that as much we want to bring, cost avoidance and efficiency, we're in a situation where we're not able to encourage 2-3 agencies who are outside the common premises to move because they have cheaper. So I'm basically giving you a scenario that we're faced with, and how big can help us sort of navigate when we're only 6 weeks away from the full departure of UNAMI from Iraq. Over.
Ghulam, well, good luck on your big day in country, should I say. I'm not very up to date with the specifics of Iraq in terms of things, but I don't know if you've taken this question to the common premises, the task team, presumably under BIG, that you've actually sought some assistance out there. What I worry about when I hear situations like this is when agencies start to take individual decisions for themselves for cost benefit purposes, which actually result in the actual UN system incurring more costs overall when they're actually all added up together. And I think that's the way we want to actually start our colleagues thinking about BIG generally at the moment, not just not just in Iraq. I mean, for example, we will never continue on the CBO work if people are, if organizations are allowed to opt out when something doesn't go right for them, and they throw, whereas for the whole system, it makes sense to actually join together, and also recognizing that all the benefits may not be there in year one. They may have to be, there may be a tract on this when you do the consolidation. So it is worrying that we're actually kind of now going from a common premises to dismantling them. But I don't know about the specific issue of the UNAMI premises or even the costs already. I'm afraid it's a bit beyond my scope of what I can actually help with there, I'm afraid, in terms of giving you detailed feedback, should I say.
If I may, no, I appreciate, Andrew, I didn't want to put you on the spot. I just wanted to elevate the issue and perhaps for some more attention from BIG. And maybe there are other colleagues. The UNDP has been appointed as the lead agency, so I'm sure they are working with relevant colleagues in New York. But again, I think one of the issue for us is that we are presented with a big bill by UNAMI, which is following HQ procedure to pay for some equipment, which we're not unable to do. So I think that one, and then also in terms of bringing costs down, we really need to look at CBOs and how that can be rolled out early in the process to make sure that we can benefit from pooling of resources as soon as possible. So anyway, I'm not expecting a full response now, but just wanted to elevate the issue at your level.
Yeah, but Ghulam, and thank you, and very, very much so. I mean, it highlights a kind of a bit of a circle which we're trying to resolve in many of the aspects of the big work as well, is that we really do want to minimize the opting out. The opting out causes a lot of work and actually is not the most efficient for generally for the UN system. We should be acting as one in terms of the certainly in terms of operational services and the back office. In order to make that more attractive, though, we must also be very transparent in our governance of these services and show that we do offer good value for money and do actually offer oversight and certainly some feedback of the quality of the services that are actually being delivered by any particular provider, so that comparisons can be made with external markets, etc. Back to you, Zamir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Isakzai, for the question, and Andrew. The next question, Andrew, is from our colleague in UNOPS, Susanna. She is actually referring to mutual recognition and having mutual recognition concert in HR processes, while she is acknowledging that the mutual recognition has worked very well in the procurement area. Would you like to say a few words about the BIG's plan on operationalization of mutual recognition, and what would be your message?
Yeah. Well, I think actually probably most of us on the call who followed the BIG since it evolved realized that in reality, mutual recognition was the one thing just about every agency signed up for on day one, but it didn't make a lot of difference in many instances. Many organizations were already doing mutual recognition in terms of the piggybacking on contracts, etc. And those that didn't still found ways or still had obstacles to prevent them from doing that and similar exercises. One thing that became clear, I referred in my opening remarks to the actual meeting we've just had in Vienna a month ago of the BIG, and it was about having a new look at mutual recognition to actually say, how do we actually move this from literally a principle to actually something that happens in practice. And there is actually a new task force being created from big members, but at difference this time is we're reaching out to the HLCM and actually having people, having colleagues on that task force from various networks who have been kind of the more resistant to applying the mutual recognition principle, including the audit, the RIAS team, and also the legal units, so that we can actually come up with a kind of an operandi that is more easier to adopt and doesn't get you in trouble with your internal regulations and rules. Again, from my own experience, I can say now I know it may be easier because we share the same system, but from UNFPA, we don't have fundamentally, we don't have our own HR rules and practices. We just adopted everything that was actually on UNDP's process. But it's not just, again, we're big users of mutual recognition at UNFPA, but it's not just with UNDP, who we have a historical relationship with. If I look at our data protection policy, the ones that we're all struggling with under, the personal data protection policy, we adopted mutuus mutandi, the policy of UNICEF. We didn't create our own. They brought their own and brought them in. We adopted it, just change the acronyms in it, and we're looking to do that in other areas as well. Fortunately, I've got a very flexible legal and a team and an audit team who do look at making things work, where they can make things work as opposed to make things kind of more compliance for the sake of compliance basis. But we will have to work on it. It needs, if big is to really achieve everything, everything is underpinned by mutual recognition. And let's face it and be honest between us in here, we can have the legal teams from our agencies arguing about this clause or whose clause over. The reality is the UN's not going to sue the UN. So this all boils down to, in end, a kind of compliance. We're not going to take each other's. It's going to be sorted out by sitting around a table and actually overcoming whatever difficulty we face. Well, why not do that at the start and enable it rather than actually looking at it when you've got a stuck point? But that task team, I think we've asked for comments on the terms of reference within the last, I think the deadline is actually this week, if I remember rightly. We extended it, and we'll be setting up that task team from a number of organizations. And I should just mention, whilst we're on here then, Zamir, the other big piece of work that did come out of the Vienna meeting was also the go-ahead, there were many, including the new the fast speed CBO rules, but the other main bit was a go ahead on a feasibility study for the global shared service center provision in terms of looking at, can we really do a much better effort at consolidating, including with those organizations that already have their own global shared service provision, and that is being sourced by all of the agencies, I think, who have actually, or vast majority of who actually have global shared services and an independent consultant. Over to you, Zamir. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We're mindful of your time. I have around 140 people in this call, mostly colleagues from the field, and about 600 in total registered that will receive your message as a recorded message. I just wanted to ask you that as the co-chair of the Business Innovation Group, what would be your message to all those UN staff and personnel across duty stations who wants to play an active role in advancing these efficiency efforts? What is the 1, 2, or 3 key points that you want to pass to them?
In terms of those in the country, they must be very active in their country teams and be very, actually the UN country teams, the operational teams as well. Make sure they're well versed in actually the opportunities there. And actually, they need to be discussing this with the resident coordinators in countries as well. So it actually has from the top down in country to this. Now, I think, there are various levels of blockages. Sometimes there are blockages at the country level. People fear that they're going to have job losses or whatever if we do a consolidation of CBOs. Similar at the GSS level. We haven't seen those at the moment. Efficiencies doesn't necessarily mean a job losses or job change. It's more job changes, and the changes are going to happen anyhow with robotics, artificial intelligence, whatever. We've got to actually be open to the changes, and this, I don't think our member states in the current UN 80 format now are going to accept that the idea that in most countries the UN operates, it has over 20 country office operational teams, that we have several hundred regional teams. It's looking for consolidation. It's looking for efficiency, especially in the funding environment we've got. Now, efficiencies are not going to close the funding gap. Let's not pretend that. But do we have a way to go? I don't think there's anyone in the UN system who works in operations doesn't realize we can do better, and we can do better if we work together on this. So my thing would be ambitious, be supportive of it, look for things that make it work rather than things as to why it shouldn't work. We have to be more agile, more nimble, and more open to take up best practices and constantly be ready to change those processes. And one good thing that a good thing that's coming out of a lot of the development is actually also the work that's now going on in the humanitarian sector, looking at these same things of the CBOs, which we're joining with, looking at the GSS in there, because there's an urgency from that side, which may drive this forward a little bit quicker than it's done previously. And also, the difference is now compared with a few, all UN agencies are in some form or other of financial downturn or crisis. No one can be, can just let this ride over again. Everyone has to act and be responsive to what they're hearing from our donor base to make efficiencies work. So I think now is the moment. You're seeing the pickup in the UN80, you're seeing the pickup from the HLCM, and that's also going to be a great boost to the big, in that we'll be able to open our services up to other than just the development system, to the whole HLCM membership. And I think the time is now. If there was ever a time that big was going to meet its objectives, it can. And we have met many objectives. Remember, on the BOSS, we have got a full up and running BOSS now, bringing in savings. David and his team now are coming up with actually making, we can actually have a lighter lift CBOs. They can go faster, and we're not going to tell you which ones to do. You can actually, as country teams, come to the team and suggest, we would like to actually put a proposal together to have our country done there first. These countries are going to be noticed by the donors. These countries are going to be noticed by our members as kind of being very, up for the challenge at the moment it matters. So I would actually say, please, don't think, oh, this has been about years. It's just another year. It's not. Things are very different now, and we're being very watched under close scrutiny now about making sure we achieve those savings, which, and I'll just finish on, and I'm, as an accountant, it's not just about savings. That's one side. We and the SG 6 or 7 years ago, when he published his report, this was never about giving money back to our donors. This was all about having more of their money put to programs and to the beneficiaries we serve, rather than eaten up in administrative and operational costs. We stick to that. We'll hold them accountable for that, for their side of the bargain as well. But the moment is now. Thank you, Zamir. Thank you.